There is a property down at the subatomic scale known as quantum tunneling. What it does is allows subatomic particles to disappear and reappear at different locations. Of course, objects at the macro scale do not behave this way simply because there's not enough time in the lifespan of our universe to even consider the probability of such an event. But let's suppose we had an infinite amount of time on our hands and objects like our sun did not die out. Well then, given enough time, our sun could also quantum tunnel and relocate. Today, we are going to analyze the impacts this hypothetical scenario would have on our planet and all living things within it. But before we dive in, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Alright, so at the moment when our sun disappears via quantum tunneling, no one would have any idea that the sun is not there anymore. This is due to the fact that it takes light about 8 minutes to reach Earth from the sun. Furthermore, the Earth would continue to go about its business revolving around the sun as usual for a little over 8 minutes because gravity waves also travel at the speed of light. Although the speed of light is extremely fast, due to the vast distance between our sun and the Earth, at even the light speed, it will need 8 minutes and 20 seconds for this phenomenon to fully take effect. Once we actually see our sun disappear, the Earth will also become free of its gravitational influence. This means that as soon as we see our sun disappear, the Earth will also fly out in a straight line tangent to wherever it was in its revolution at around 108,000 kilometers an hour when the sun goes out. Along with the sunlight, the reflected light from our moon would also fade out, indicating to the night side of our planet of the tragedy that had taken place. While we would be fully aware of what had happened to our sun, planets further away from the sun would continue to operate as if nothing had happened and continue to reflect sunlight from the sun that is no longer there. For example, it would take an additional 30 minutes for the light on Jupiter to fade out and free the planet from the gravitational influence of the sun. On Earth, the immediate consequences of this would be eternal darkness. Even though the Milky Way galaxy generates some light, it is not enough to be anywhere near the light generated from our sun. Realizing this, mass panic and chaos would follow as people try to find safe places to go. Some might simply die of shock and disbelief at the news of our sun suddenly disappearing. Others might fall victim to widespread mass chaos and panic. Despite the sun disappearing, man-made electricity and fossil fuels would still be usable and provide enough power to light our towns and cities. However, the temperature around the planet would drop significantly since the sun not only provides us with light but also with heat. This would mean that a lot of places on Earth that are already cold would be even colder, making life next to impossible in these regions. One of the biggest problems with the sun gone would be the end of photosynthesis. This is because 99.9% of Earth's natural productivity comes from this process. This means that plants will no longer be able to provide any food for living creatures since they will eventually start dying out without the sun causing the process of photosynthesis. Furthermore, plants would no longer be able to inhale carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen, which is crucial for all life on Earth. This is a big problem. However, given around 1 quintillion kilograms of oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere and the fact that collectively we all take in around 6 trillion kilograms of oxygen per year, our oxygen reserves should be able to last us anywhere from 100 to 150,000 years. Small plants and trees, however, will not be so lucky. They will start to die within days to weeks depending on their size. They will no longer be able to sustain themselves without sunlight and photosynthesis. Large trees, on the other hand, could survive for years without the sun since they contain enough sugar to convert into energy that can sustain them even when it's dark. However, due to cold temperatures, even these large trees would soon start to freeze. The water inside them would also freeze, stopping any energy conversion, eventually killing them. The consequences of this would be dire for grazing animals or herbivores that depend on plant matter for sustenance, such as cows, sheep, buffalo, elephants, and more. They would slowly begin to starve to death as the last trees die out. Carnivores or meat-eating animals such as lions, bears, tigers, alligators, and others should be able to survive a bit longer than herbivores, since they will have plenty of food sources from weakened or dead plant-eating animals. Of course, this is assuming that these carnivores can survive such a drop in temperature around the world. Usually, some animals can survive extreme cold temperatures, like wolves and bears. However, small rivers and lakes would freeze over, killing fish and other living things underwater, which would impact these carnivores. With the sun, the average temperature of our planet is around 15 degrees Celsius or 57 degrees Fahrenheit, which is quite comfortable for most living creatures. But without the sun, the average temperature will drop to about 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit in only about 1 week due to the Earth radiating off heat into space. Humans are no strangers to temperature of this nature and would continue to survive for months without other considerations. But as time went on, the average global temperature would reach -73 degrees Celsius or -100 degrees Fahrenheit in just over a year. At this point, most animals would have been dead due to cold temperatures across the globe. This would also force humanity to seek shelter near areas that have geothermal activity where the temperature is not as cold as the surface. Building shelters underground would also become a reasonable solution to the extreme cold, as it would better protect us from the cold weather on the surface. We would need to find ways to generate heat underground or move closer to thermal vents that would be able to provide heat for our survival. Other man-made vessels such as submarines and aircrafts could also be used as living spaces, given that there remains enough energy to power them. After a few years of the sun, the average temperature of our planet would dip even more, freezing the top layers of our oceans. These frozen layers would expand for many kilometers into the ocean, killing most living creatures that depend on sunlight. But because our Earth's core is made up of molten rock due to the immense pressure and compression of mass at the center, the core generates enough heat, around 5,000 degrees Celsius or 9,000 degrees Fahrenheit, to prevent the entire ocean from freezing over. The ice layer at the top of the oceans would insulate the water at the bottom of the ocean, while geothermal vents keep the bottom of the ocean warm by spewing water that is superheated by the Earth's core. This will allow the entire ecosystem of extremophiles to survive deep below the ocean. From cold-blooded creatures that live under extreme cold and depths to microorganisms that live in extreme temperatures near geothermal vents. Not only will these ecosystems be able to survive, they will potentially be able to sustain themselves and thrive for billions of years without the sun. After about 10 to 15 years, the air in the Earth's atmosphere would begin to freeze over and fall to the ground. At first, it would fall as rain, but as the temperature gets colder, it would fall in the form of snow. The Earth's atmosphere would soon stabilize at around -240 degrees Celsius or -400 degrees Fahrenheit after about 10,000 years of no sun. This is the stabilizing temperature, since it is the temperature that the Earth's core radiates, which is equal to the temperature that the Earth radiates out in space. At these extreme temperatures, the entire atmosphere would freeze and fall to the surface of the Earth. At this point, anything that survived on the surface would be wiped out due to the harsh cosmic radiation that comes from space. And if humans have not been able to build underground cities, then unfortunately all of us would have been wiped out as well. The extremophiles, on the other hand, would continue to survive deep below the ocean, traveling on spaceship Earth throughout the vast expanses of space. If all goes well and the Earth survives the dangers of colliding with other celestial bodies in its travel through space, it would have traveled about 100,000 light years in about 1 billion years. This trip could potentially take it all the way across the galaxy near thousands of stars. Perhaps the Earth could find a new star and be captured by its gravitational attraction. And maybe one day, the life that the spaceship Earth carried with it beneath the frozen oceans could once again evolve into intelligent species like us. But don't worry, our sun will not go the route of quantum tunneling. There is not enough time in the lifespans of billions of universes for that probability to occur. It will, however, get hot enough to evaporate the Earth's oceans in about 1 billion years, making life almost impossible. If this doesn't get the job done, it will go supernova in about 5 billion years, swallowing the entire Earth, ending anything and everything on it. So you and everyone you know have nothing to worry about. We will leave that to our future generations. Well, there you have it. If you like videos like this and want to see more, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Until then, we'll see you in the next one.